We're starting now. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being with us at yet another EHPA event. Hopefully you can all see me, hear me. If not, hopefully you can just hear me and see the presentation. Those are the really important ones. Thank you for, again, participating in yet another EHPA event, this time talking about matchmaking, trying to network the different stakeholders that are in our field. We have many interesting things that are coming in this quite short workshop. And please, next slide. You'll hear me asking for the next slide a lot. So you may or may not know me. My name is Dan Stefanica. I'm the head of EU projects here at EHPA. EHPA is the European Heat Pump Association. If you want to know more about our work and our projects, our policy team, our key mark certification, feel free to message us after this matchmaking event. If not, just also it's really good to follow us on social media, such as our LinkedIn or our Twitter accounts. This event, as well as all the other events that we've done this year, and believe me, there are a lot, as well as the years before, all of them are recorded, and all of the recordings are put on our YouTube channel. So you can find there all the workshops that you will ever wish for, as well as the next ones, of course. So feel free to subscribe. But enough about that. Now let's just move next, please. Move to talk about the platform. So basically, in the beginning, as we are now, this platform looks quite similar to Zoom, quite similar to GoToWebinar and any other platform. However, when the matchmaking starts, it will change completely. It will look like the photo that you can see. The little dots in blue are actually tables that you can move around on and just meet people as you would do in real life, only from the comfort of your home. There's, of course, the good idea to make a profile. The profile is very helpful because people will see not only who you are, but your contact information. They can see it very quickly. And my colleague Serena will really in detail explain to you how to use the platform before we start. So no need to take any notes at the moment. And believe me, it's like really, really intuitive. The last thing, the two photos at the bottom, the ones in black, you will probably see there's a little bubble to the right. It's blue. It has kind of like a speech bubble. That's what it's called. It's a technical term. If you click on it, there's a chat, there's a Q&A. So whenever the speakers will present and you have a question in your mind, feel free to use those options. Next slide, please. Okay, so just a little bit about the agenda. So the first minutes is just a welcome from me, as well as an introduction to the Secretariat RAC, this very nice project that we have and the project that is actually making this event possible. Then we have two presentations that talk about call design, European Union calls, such as Horizon Europe, for example. So we have Piero de Bonis and Linda van Duivenbode that have made really nice presentations that will really help you in your project applications. Then we have a little bit of just talking about the calls that we're interested in. Next slide, please, made by my colleague Serena. Afterwards, of course, my colleague will explain the Remo platform. Next slide, please. We will have 1 hour of virtual networking using those virtual tables, and then we will have the closing of the event. Again, everything will be recorded, but make sure that you take the contacts of the people you meet so you can talk to them later. Just a few words, well, actually a little bit more because it's such a nice project. Just a little bit about the RAC platform. So the RAC is a European Technology and Innovation Platform, or an ETIP, since 2016. Next slide, please. This means it advocates the benefits of renewable heating and cooling at the European Union level. It has many partners from the heat pump sector, of course. It's us, from bioenergy, from the geothermal field. So it's a very nice project and very nice partners. And its goals that you can see on the screen is, of course, to develop working relationships with other relevant national and regional platforms. For example, we work a lot with the IWG of Z-Plan, the one on buildings we're very interested in, for example. Establish and update the strategic research and innovation agenda, as well as other documents that I will show you just a little bit after. Identify cross-cutting priorities, because of course our sector doesn't just live in a void, but it's usually very much connected to other priorities, other sectors. Identify innovation barriers, because of course it's in the name, but there are also the barriers to overcome to scale up our technologies and to go to 100% renewable heating and cooling. Report on the implementation of research and innovation activities. Of course, we do that all the time, and stay tuned for that just by consulting the website. Next slide, please. It's just a little bit of a delay on the slide progression. Sorry about that. Just about some products or some services that you can use from the project. One of them that is very interesting is the RNC projects database. This is basically just a one-stop shop with a very user-friendly interface that uses filters, uses keywords, and basically it's a database, as it says, of renewable heating and cooling projects. Because we manage it, the HPA, I can tell you that there are over 100 projects there. They're probably around 140 now, and there are always getting new ones that are being added. Submission to it, please, next slide. Submission to it is very much encouraged. There's a very easy process of doing so. So you have the database on the screen now. This is just a screenshot from the RNC website. As you can see, it shows in this particular instant, it shows 2 projects. There's a couple of filters by area of application, technology readiness. Next slide, please. And as you can see on the top, there's a button called Submit Your Project. So you feel free to submit them. Feel free to check the website. You'll see that the button for Submit a Project is in other places as well. So it's really hard to miss. And of course, this presentation will be sent to all of you, and each of the slides, as you can see, has a direct link that will take you directly to the area in question. So becoming a member is also encouraged. It's very easy to do. You would join the quite big community of experts in renewable heating and cooling. You would contribute to the documents. Next slide, please, to the strategic documents. You would participate in our meetings. You would participate in our events. So many opportunities, and many also opportunities to meet like-minded organizations and experts. Something really important as well are the RNC documents. So these are very much strategic flagship documents, let's call them like this. And 3 of them have been completed. So basically all of the ones that we had in mind in completing. So the first one is the vision document. The other one is the strategic research and innovation agenda. There are also strategic research and innovation agendas for particular technologies. So for example, there is one that is just focusing on heat pumps. And of course, you have the vision, you have the avenues of research and innovation. Next slide, please. So the third one is actually a document related to deployment. As you can see on the website now, all of these documents are there, free to access, download, consult. Of course, when these are made, the members are asked for feedback. The members work on them, and it's a very input-intensive process. So your inputs and your participation would very much be appreciated. And some of these documents would be updated in the future, as you can imagine, the research and innovations keep evolving. The next slide, please. So feel free to take a look. If you have your phone handy, you can even scan the QR code and it will take you directly to the website. However, you have to be very quick because, next slide, please. So just a little bit about the process, right? So we talked about the strategic research and innovation agenda for heat pumps. How was this made, right? Next slide, please. So the feedback came, for example, from the heat pump technology panel, the Research and Innovation Committee of the HPA. We had the picture at the bottom is a mural. So that's a way, a virtual whiteboard of getting a virtual whiteboard that gathers feedback from participants. Next slide, please. So if you would have liked to participate, you would have been invited to all of this, and your feedback would have been very much appreciated. Then you can see here the results, which are a document is very very brief. Although it says it has 30 pages, it's really brief, given the importance of all the areas. And the document was made from a life cycle analysis standpoint. So we talk about demand, design, next slide, please, manufacturing, installation, maintenance and operation, replacement and upgrading, and the implementation plan. So this is just an example of how one of these documents that we talked about was made, what it contains, and what is the rationale behind it. This was the case for the Strategic Research and Innovation pumps. Next slide, please. With the aim, of course, of having these documents updated periodically. That's all from me. Like I said, very brief, because we give a lot of importance to the networking itself, as well as to the presentations of our speakers. So first, let me introduce you to Piero de Bonis, and it's a pleasure to have him here today to talk more about how the Commission is designing these calls, what calls should we be looking into, and maybe a little bit of tips and tricks on how to apply to them. So Piero, the virtual microphone floor is yours. And please say next when your slide needs to change. Please change the next slide, Serena.
Thanks a lot, Dan. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to give you a quick presentation, first of all, of Horizon Europe, in particular Cluster 5 of Horizon Europe, Climate, Energy, and Mobility. And then a couple of slides on the recently launched EU Cities mission. Next slide, please. So Horizon Europe, you know, is the newly launched framework program for research and innovation. It's a very complex and vast framework program, and you can see there in the box I highlighted the Cluster 5, Climate, Energy, and Mobility, which is under Pillar 2, Global Challenges and European Industrial Competitiveness. I focus on this Cluster 5 because by definition, by nature, it has to do with energy. But for example, you can see in Pillar 3, we have the European Innovation Council, which is also recently established. And I would encourage everyone also to follow the activities and the work program of the European Innovation Council. There they have calls which are bottom-up, but also calls also in the energy field, which are more streamlined. So maybe there can be also opportunities there. I mean, opportunities for funding research and innovation activities. Next slide, please. In Cluster 5, we have several so-called intervention areas, which you can see here on the left, and I think most relevant for the heat pump sector are, of course, the areas of energy supply and the areas of buildings and industrial facilities in energy transition. The total budget of this cluster for the 7 years between 2021 and 2027 is approximately 15 billion euros. And on the right, you see, I think, three important blocks, because with this slide, we see that really much is happening with the regular call for proposals, but also a lot is happening also with other, I would say, parallel instruments. And in particular, we have the institutional partnerships, which are linked to Cluster 5. And for example, we have an important partnership on clean hydrogen. So this is also something to be monitored, and this partnership should be launched by the end of this year. And also, as I mentioned already before, we have the missions, which are a totally new instrument, and we're going to see more about that later. Next slide, please. On the left of this slide, you can see, again, the institutional partnership. In the middle, you can see the co-funded partnerships, which are joint activities with national funding agencies. And we are now evaluating, and we should soon be launching two vast consortia. One will be focused on driving urban transitions, and the other one will be focused on clean energy, on the clean energy transition. So, also these two partnerships, something really which I encourage you to follow, because also those partnerships will launch calls for proposal, which will be coordinated at the level of several national funding agencies. And I think also there, specifically for the clean energy transition partnership, I'm sure there will be opportunities for heating and cooling. But first, we will see when the consortium finally kicks off. And on the right, here you can see the co-program partnerships. The co-program partnerships entail an agreement between the Commission and partners other than the Union. I would say the partners other than the Union have a sort of say about some of the costs of the work program. And I think also here we have, for example, the partnership which is called Beer for People, people-centric sustainable built environment. Also here, I think a lot of opportunities for the heat pump sector. Anyway, these calls are already reflected in the core work program. They are clearly highlighted as Build for People calls. And you have some more co-program partnership mentioned in the slide. Next slide, please. Now, going back to the specific calls, to the specific intervention areas of Cluster 5, I would like in particular here to mention this area, which is the area of efficient, sustainable, and inclusive energy use. Cluster 5 has 6 destinations. This is destination number 4. And here you can see two main blocks. The first one is, of course, buildings, and the second one is industry. In the area of buildings, we are looking for technological and socioeconomic breakthrough, and of course, always with the people-centric focus. And as I was mentioning before, some of these calls support are fully coordinated with the Build for People partnership. As regard industrial side, here we are interested in increased energy efficiency in industry and reducing greenhouse gas emissions and air pollutants. In particular, as you can see, through recovery, upgrade, and or conversion of industrial excess waste heat, or through electrification. So I'm presenting here this destination 4 with these two main areas, because, next slide, please. Because under this area, I think really there are very interesting opportunities for the heat pump sector in the months to come. That's why I've summarized here, I presented here 4 topics which have deadlines for submission of proposals in the next year. And as I said, anything for all these, we can consider that there are opportunities for the heat pump sector. The first topic with the deadline in January next year is about cost-effective, sustainable, multifunctional, and or prefabricated holistic renovation packages integrating renewable energy sources. This is a vast topic. It, as you see, it supports the Build for People partnership, and I'm pretty sure here there can be strong interest from this community. Then other 2 topics with the deadline in September next year. The first one is about renewable intensive, energy positive homes. Also here, a strong focus on the integration of renewables in the building sector. And the next one is about the industrial component of destination 4. So here we have the development and demonstrator of heat upgrade technologies with supply temperature in the range 150 to 150 degrees Celsius. So I think please have a look also at the text of these 2 topics. I think very good opportunities here. And finally, this topic will then in January 2023. This is about the cultural heritage, and here also we consider that we have to make the cultural heritage, among others, we have to make it low emission. So also here for sure opportunities for this sector. So this is a quick overview of Cluster 5 and a quick overview of very relevant topics with the deadline in the near future. And now with the next slide, I will present quickly something about the mission cities. So missions, there are 5 missions, EU missions so-called, which were finally launched in September this year. They are mainly at the moment relying on Horizon Europe, but the idea is to expand and also to rely on further EU and national support systems. The mission cities, the full name is Climate Neutral and Smart Cities. And the idea here is to, by 2030, achieve 100 cities which are climate neutral. I am showing here 2 slides which have to do completely with the application process for cities to participate in the mission. We have just published an info kit for cities to help prepare their application, and we should soon be publishing the call for expression of interest with a questionnaire that cities will be invited to fill in. This call should close in January, and by March we should have the selection of participating cities. The mission platform, which is a sort of large community which is supporting the activities of the mission, should start to work with the first cities as of mid-2022. So this is of course relevant for cities, for municipal administration. But with the next slide, we can see what are the main benefits of being among the first 100 cities, and also we can see what activities are envisaged. So, of course, being among the first 100 cities means that receiving tailor-made advice from the platform, receiving help with access to funding, but also, and this is why I'm highlighting this here for this community, the idea really to deploy RNI demonstrators in the participating cities. So, really here it is important for, in this case, for the heat pump community to stay tuned to the activities of the mission cities and to see exactly what type of RNI demonstrators are step-by-step envisaged in each city. Of course, it's important to know that anyway, any call of the Horizon Europe World Program which focuses on mission, those calls will not anyway restricted to the 100 cities, but they will anyway still, of course, open to any applicant. Further advantages of being among the first 100 cities, of course, support for a national coordination network, and of course, we really see that the visibility of the mission as an instrument is taking off, and so we really also encourage you locally to see if your cities can apply for such an instrument. And I would encourage you as community to stay tuned to the activities of the mission and see what opportunities there are for the heat pump sector. Of course, the crucial document will be the climate city contract, which each city will have to prepare. Next slide, please. These are just some social media references for you to follow our main activities. And with the next slide, I think this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Much, Piero. As usual, very informative. Of course, very brief because there's so much to say about the calls and the work program. The booklets have all the information. But thank you again for sharing the 4 suggestions that you had. We'll keep an eye on those. Of course, wink, wink, we were actually really already keeping an eye on them. But thank you so much for this, Piero. And if you can stay more for the networking, that would be welcome. But I know you're very busy as well. So if you have any questions for Piero, please put them in the chat. But if he has to go, we will of course put them together in an email, and we will send them to him afterwards, after the event. But thank you again,
still 20 minutes on more.
Yeah. Okay. So you have 20 minutes to put your very important questions on the calls. And of course, the Horizon Europe missions for cities. That is really interesting, and that we will share a lot, especially with our national heat pump associations. Thank you so much. And now it's my pleasure
Thank
to
you.
introduce Linda. Um, Linda will take you in more detail, and she will present you more about the calls, a little bit of tips and tricks on how to apply for calls, how to find them, and basically a lot of very useful information, which I will let Linda explain to you. Please, Linda, the virtual floor and microphone is yours.
Thank you very much, Dan, and then thanks for inviting me. So my name is Linda van Duivenbode. Today I represent a program called Ideas from Europe, which is a program initiated by the Dutch Ministry of Economic Affairs, Entrepreneurship Department and the European Commission DG GROW. And Ideas from Europe is a social broker for innovation with societal impact. And our mission is to create impact by connecting entrepreneurship, innovation and investment. I'm talking to you today from Barcelona Smart City Expo, which was very informative. So for safety purposes, because I'm using the public Wi-Fi, I'll switch my camera off just to be sure the connection is stable enough for me to tell you what you would like to know. Next slide, please. Okay, next slide, please, because I've already said that. Okay, the slide you're seeing now is a landscape overview that was created by a Horizon 2020 project called Smart Spend, which looks specifically at funding opportunities, but also funding gaps for the energy sector. So I think it's interesting for you to take a look at the project website and their results. And I've taken their overview just to give you an idea of the instruments and how they're distributed across the chain from research to innovation to market, really. It has Horizon 2020, so it's slightly out of date already because, of course, we're now in Horizon Europe. But I felt that overall it still gives a nice impression of where each instrument sits. And I'm not entirely sure for the audience what stage you're in and whether you're looking for project funding or company funding. So this overview, I think, gives a nice bird's eye view of the different types of funding, all the way from basic research to market funding, all the way to, on the right-hand side, from InnoEnergy and, for example, the European Investment Bank. And InnoEnergy I'll come back to later. Now, this is one you already recognize from Piero's presentation, which is the overview of Horizon Europe. So I will not go into that anymore. But I wanted to let you know and show you that there are other programs that might be of relevance to you in addition to research and innovation. So I have a couple of slides for you to look at afterwards, because as Dan says, there's a lot of information here, and I've included the links to these programs so you can have a look at them later and find out which program is mostly of interest to you. LIFE, I think, is interesting because in this funding round from 2021 to 2027, it does specifically now include energy as a work program and a track, whereas previously it was focused on environment and climate and biodiversity mostly, but now includes energy and is focused on demonstration projects. Digital, of course, a major topic also for our energy sector. Digitalisation from DG Connect, its own program, and the Connecting Europe facility, which is all about infrastructure, and energy infrastructure is one of the pillars there. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, I skipped. I forget to say next slide. My fault. So the next one, please. Yeah, so this is LIFE I was talking about, Digital Europe and Connecting Europe facility. Next slide, please. Because there is more. On the overview, you will also see there's something called the Innovation Fund. So I thought that would be interesting for you because it's all about sustainability and decarbonization at the EU level. So CCU, for example, is a specific topic under the Innovation Fund. So you can have a look at the funding availabilities there. And Piero already mentioned the European Innovation Council, which now includes the what was the SME instrument under Horizon 2020. But in addition, the EC and member states have also, under Eureka, established a program since many years called Eurostars. And that's a bilateral program. So it's for two organizations, one of which has to be an SME, in two member states looking to develop a project together. And this is for high R&D intensive small companies. So again, if you're a small company, that might be an interesting one for you to look at, because it's national funding and EC funding combined. And the part of the evaluation is also done by the member states. Next sheet, please. More still to come. So two more programs, or two elements of the same initiative is the European Institute for Innovation and Technology. On the overview, you may have briefly seen InnoEnergy. And InnoEnergy is one of the clusters under the EIT. And it provides funding, it provides investment, and it also provides coaching and support to startups. And the other one that's also of interest to you, because again, that's all about climate, which is about decarbonization, is the Climate Kick. And Climate Kick is now the coordinator of a very big program called Net Zero Cities, which Piero referred to under the mission. This was awarded under the Green Deal funding that was made available at the end of last year under Horizon 2020. It's a consortium that has 53 million euro and will be developing projects for cities to become smarter. And of course, for cities to become smarter, they need to buy solutions in the market. So it could be an opportunity for you also. Next slide, please. Now, lots to see, lots to find out. So I've also tried to list a few of the information sources and support networks that are available. The main one, of course, being the EU portal, Funding and Tender Opportunities portal itself. But there is also by the European Commission an access to finance portals. There's a link included here also, which tells you which funding opportunities are available from research, but also more market-based instruments, so venture capital, loans, and that type of equity funding. And also information about how to access this in your own country. So some of it is based on member state information. The project already mentioned, called Smart Spend, that's interesting to look at. The Enterprise Europe Network, which is a support network set up by the Commission and run through networks in the member states. You can send requests to them if you're looking for a partner, technology or market partner in another country. They have a big network that goes beyond the EU even by now. And of course, we have the European Investment Bank. You may have heard of it, but you may not know that there's an actual advisory service within EIB, which is called Innofin Advisory, and you can contact them and discuss projects you have in mind, and they can tell you how to obtain funding from EIB and what the conditions would be to get such funding. And we have the Business Angel Network. Again, I'm not entirely sure where you are in your life cycle, if you're a startup or a well-established company looking for bigger amounts of money. So I try to cover funding needs ranging from small amounts like a few 100K all the way to many hundreds of millions of euro, which some of these other bigger funds are able to provide. Last Monday here in Barcelona, there was an investment company called Whitehelm Capital. So I'll update my sheets for EHP to send to you, or it maybe can be added later. Whitehelm Capital is an investment vehicle that invests money from mainly institutional investors. So institutional investors are pension funds, and they have a capital smart cities investment fund. And he was saying to me, the liaison who was here was actually saying to me that they have difficulty finding good European projects and are therefore investing some of the Dutch European investment money in the USA, which of course is a bit of a shame if we have opportunities here for ourselves as well. So I'll add Whitehelm Capital to the list. And it might be worth even looking to your own pension funds. In the Netherlands, we also have a pension fund called PGGM. And again, they are also now investing directly in companies. So there's so many different forms and formats now to get funding. Then very briefly, the structure of Horizon. Next sheet, please. Also, again, for you to look at home, Piero already touched on the cluster 5, climate, energy, mobility. And you'll see that the core topics follow a specific format with identifiers on how do I trace this back to its origin and understand what the policy context is, so you can really write an application that is fit for purpose. So there's the cluster, there's the year, in this case 2022. I've picked out one of the calls. Then there is the D3. This is what Pierre referred to as the destination, so sustainable, secure, and competitive energy supply. And then a unique identifier for each call, and of course the title. I've also included some information about the types of call and the budget. Typically, you will see that there's a total budget given, but also a budget that the Commission expects to award to individual projects, so you can have an idea how many projects are likely to be funded under this call topic. And of course, you have the opening and closing stage, and also the technology readiness level that was shown on the first sheet overview is often also stated. So again, you know what kind of readiness you need to have at the end of the project. And of course, the call also has a topic description with expected outcome and scope. And what is new there now is that it does include a destination description. So it has the policy context and the targets that the Commission is aiming towards, and also the expected impacts. So you'll see in the sheet I'm going to show you later that the Commission and the application form now not just asks you to describe what the immediate results are of your project, but also the longer term outcomes and impacts. Next sheet, please. Yeah, so this one, I won't go in it, but this denotes the shift from Horizon 2020 to Horizon Europe in terms of the objectives for scientific, societal, and economic impact. And you can have a look at the changes. Next sheet, please. These ones I'll also skip through fairly quickly. For each of these objective areas, so science, society, economy, the Commission has developed some impact indicators. Not necessarily for you to take all of them into account at project level, but some of them you can have a look at and think, oh yeah, okay, I can quantify or I can specify how I would meet this impact indicator, and it helps you to strengthen the proposal to really show that you're not just doing this to go through the motion of getting the funding, but you're really working towards achieving impact, and that you can measure it in some way as well. So this is the scientific, and the next sheet, please. You see that there's a separate set of indicators for society, and the next one, please, next sheet. And the same for economic indicators. So again, for you to look at when you get this sent after this presentation. Next sheet, please. Yeah, this is something I wanted to again show you if you've not been working on Horizon Europe yet, that in the impact section of the application form now includes a much stronger focus on impact, as in describing what impact you're going to have. The canvas has two parts, so you need to summarize here kind of bullet-wise how your project is going to have impact, starting from the specific need you're going to address. What are your direct results? So these are the direct deliverables from your project. And what dissemination, exploitation, and communication measures are you going to apply to really drive those results into the users and markets? Next one, please. Yeah, and then the second part of the canvas asks you to identify, okay, who are you doing this for? So who are your targets? Policy, science, citizens, companies. what are the outcomes? So how can these target audiences of yours, so how can a company take your results further and really turn it into something that they use in practice in real life? Or how can this policymaker use your recommendations into better policy making? And then it asks you also to describe credibly what the impact is going to be of your project in the longer term. Now, this, of course, is quite hard because it's like a crystal ball, but you're asked to describe credibly how do you see that the measures you're taking and the people you're involving in your project can take up the results from your project in such a way that it will actually have a result in the longer term, in terms of decarbonization, in terms of number of products in the market and actually being sold in the market, and describe it in such a way that the evaluator believes what you're telling them. Next one, please. And then I understand it's a lot. Both presentations are very rich in information. So as Dan said, you can either send questions you have to them. Unfortunately, I have to run to the airport now to catch a flight back to Amsterdam. But you can also reach out to me directly via my email or my LinkedIn profile. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Linda. A pleasure as always. Have a nice flight. And again, send us any questions that you might have for Linda. Linda is involved in many companies. The Ideas for Europe one is very interesting. And it's a lot of resources. And if Linda agrees, we will invite her in the future for another event where she will have an opportunity to explain more all the service and all the work that they're doing, including a very nice event that I will not go into because now it's done for this year, but for next year, you should be aware of it. Thank you so much, Linda. Have a nice flight.
Thank you.
And
Thanks.
see you next year at another event for you.
Absolutely. Thanks very much.
And now my colleague Serena will talk a little bit about the calls that we have identified. If you have been in a meeting with me recently, you know that we have a database of all the calls that are of interest to us. If you haven't been in a call with me recently, maybe you should have this call with me or my colleague Serena. As you can imagine, we've been looking at the calls that relate to heat pumps in any area that might be of interest to us for quite some time. So we have quite a comprehensive database that we update all the time. So with that being said, Serena, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dan. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Serena Scotton, and as Dan said, I'm working at the European Heat Pump Association as project manager. In the next minutes, I will briefly mention you what is the focus for HPA in the new funded European calls, and also how the Rhythm platform will work for our upcoming networking. So let's start. 1 second, that I'm facing a little issue with the slides. Sorry. 2 screens and now, okay, perfect. Now it seems to be working. Good. So let's start with the HPA focus on European projects. So this event has been organized by the HPA projects team. You can see the picture of me and my colleagues here, and you will also meet us during the networking in a few minutes. So HPA really value the participation in European projects, and indeed we want to put the center of the energy transition. So we are always looking for new projects proposals, and we also are currently quite active. So we have 6 ongoing Horizon 2020 projects and 1 tender and 1 internal project, which is the Heat Pump Award, in which actually we award innovative local heat pump projects. So apart from participating in RD&I EU-funded projects, we also very much value and are interested in research and innovation per se as concept. Indeed, in the last 2 years ago, I guess, we created the Research and Innovation Committee, inside EHPA, in which this is an opportunity to meet all the main stakeholders from both the heat pump and heating and cooling sector, so not only EHPA members. In this committee, we discuss about projects pipeline, upcoming calls, and new funding opportunities. As well, we define what are the research and innovation priorities. As I said, this is a committee that is open to everyone, so not only for HPA members. So if you are also interested to take part in, you can contact me or my colleague Dan, and you could join. Because indeed, what we really value and think is important, apart from participating in projects, is also to lobbying for having funding opportunities for the heating and cooling sector in projects. And we are, as association, apart from lobbying, we are also quite active in participating in set plan working groups and other key stakeholders groups. As I said, funding opportunities, I think for all the organizations and for all the people attending this event today is really important. So we are always looking for new projects. Indeed, the goal of today's meeting is the fact that to encourage the discussion and cooperation between today's organization and people, thus to better discuss about the upcoming funding opportunities, to meet new organization, and enhance the relationship among stakeholders. So today, but yeah, it will happen in a few minutes, we will start this networking. So I hope you will meet new partners and you can have fruitful discussions. Just briefly, because maybe not all of you previously engaged in HPA in projects. So what we do when we participate in European projects is that we usually are a work package leader for communication dissemination. We do policy analysis and we deliver policy paper. So policy analysis means mainly European policies, but sometimes also national. We engage with key stakeholders. You can imagine being in Brussels is a big value, so we have good contacts with policymakers and the other main key players in Brussels and Europe. And we do provide a heat pump market analysis and some trainings. But today, of course, we are also interested to know what can be your role in projects, what is your expertise, and to have some really nice and interesting exchanges. As Dan was mentioning, by default, the project team already made a kind of database with all the main EU funded calls and funding opportunities for 2022. Of course, we selected the calls where we see a potential role for heat pumps. And by only looking at 2022, we already have 33 calls already selected from multiple programs. This is just a screenshot, just to give you an idea of our database. And every time we have some meetings with stakeholders or potential partners, we do share this Excel file with database, and it's a valuable resource because we rank, let's say, the calls where we are most interested in, but it's also good as a starting point to with potential partners. Now, going to more practical, the practical side, how the remote platform that we are using today will work. So, if you look at the top right side of your screen in remote, you see a circle with your profile. If you click there, and I suggest you to do it live now, you will see this appear, and we suggest you to fill in the information. As you can see, you can put the URL of your company website plus your LinkedIn profile. So this is really valuable when you will meet people in the online tables, because by clicking on the icon of the person that you're talking with, you can see all the details and you can afterwards contact this person on LinkedIn, for instance, or you can easily find him again by looking at the website. So really important, fill in all the information so you are easily trackable and people can find you and you can continue the networking also after 2 days. This is a picture of how the networking floor, let's say, will appear to you. So this is exactly what you will see in a few minutes. So we will have 5 floors. This is a picture of 1 floor, but they are exactly the same. As you can see, you have tables. Each table has 6 seats, and the networking will happen in this virtual table. So to join a table, you just need to double click on a seat, so on a chair, and you will join. As you can see here, in this picture, we have 2 people who joined a table. And as I said, by looking with your mouse on the icon of the person, you will see the name. And then if you double click, you will have all the information. Then if you click on the chat box that you will see in the bottom bar, you will have a general chat. In this way, if you write a message in the general chat, of course, you will send a message to all participants attending today, but you also have a private chat for the table. So you can, so while you are chatting with the people seated at your table, you can send a link or send your details and whatever. So please keep in mind that you have these 2 options. Moreover, it is always good when you are sitting at a table and you start talking with the other participants, you can turn on your webcams so you can actually see the other people. Something that I realized I missed and I go back. So as I said, we have 5 floors and they are exactly the same, but you will see that here on the left part, you have this table, which actually tells you in which floor you are. So we have 5 floors at our disposal for today's meeting, and you are free to change floor by floor by looking for the people that you are interested to discuss with. And it's really easy to change floor. You just need to click on the number of the floor you want to go. So the platform is really easy to use, but anyhow, if you have any issue while networking, you can send a message in the general chat. So me and my colleague, we will be able to answer to all your questions and doubts. So this is it from my side. Here you have all the recaps. So if you want to get in touch with the EHPA, and yeah, I hope you will have some interesting networking. Thank you. Hello again. I hope you can hear me. So I hope you enjoyed this networking event, and I hope you met some relevant key stakeholders and you can continue the discussions after today's event. For today, I think we will close here the event. So thank you so much for attending, and we will stay in touch. Bye. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.